Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. My name is Gustave Johann Karl Louis Schwarz, but everyone just called me Gus. I wonder why. I know you were expecting to see me, but I'm not a public speaker. I was known as a quiet man who didn't say much, and when they asked me to appear before you and speak about myself, well, I thought I'd say more and feel more at ease speaking to you from inside my comfortable tomb. I was born on April the 6th, 1884, in Manhattan, New York, to Johann Gustave Schwarz and Johanna Frances Sodermann. Both were German immigrants. I attended school until the 8th grade. During World War I served with the Army's 6th Cavalry. Horses were an integral part of the cavalry, and they were used not just for transportation, but they served many purposes. We were trained in horsemanship using our mounts in various ways. For instance, we trained to ride standing up in our stirrups. This enabled us to fire our rifles from a greater vantage point. During battle, we laid our horses on their side, using them for protective cover, firing from behind them. I was also a musician, and I played while riding on horseback for parades and other occasions. After the war was over, I was discharged from the Army in June of 1919 from Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. After my discharge, I joined the Navy Reserve as a coppersmith. I moved to Gretna, Louisiana. Here I met and married Annie Fortmeyer, and we resided at 529 9th Street in Gretna. We had 4 children, Helen, Yvonne, Melvin, and Irvin. I was a coppersmith by trade. I would have probably made a lot of money during the Prohibition making copper stills, but my wife Annie wouldn't let me have anything to do with it. We did not get rich. During Prohibition, the government allowed individuals to brew alcoholic beverages for personal use. Being German, it was natural for us to brew our own beer. We bottled our beer and stored it under the house to age it and keep it cool. It was not uncommon for us to be awakened by small explosions as our beer over-fermented and the bottles exploded. I was a member of the David Crockett Fire Company, and I worked for the post office as a letter carrier and a custodian. Another one of my many talents was that of a plumber. I served as the first plumbing inspector for the city of Gretna. I had a workshop in the backyard of my house. I produced copper and brass objects of all types. I used a 6-foot rail from a railroad track as an anvil. It could be seen half inside and half outside the wall of my shop. This enabled me to work outside where the light was better or inside when it rained. It was quite an unusual sight. My wife Annie was also talented. From our home, she taught piano lessons to many of Gretna's children. She also played piano at various movie theaters around New Orleans and at the Tower Movie Theater right here in downtown Gretna. She played music for the silent movies because back then there were no soundtracks. This was difficult because she had to watch the movie while playing and change the tempo or type of music depending upon what was taking place on the screen. She would play romantic music for love scenes or exciting music for chase or action scenes. She did all of this from memory with no sheet music. As I mentioned earlier, I was known to be a quiet man, but my wife Annie, being a fine, typical German lady, was outspoken and known to have a bit of a temper. Once a neighbor who was a relative came to the house and did something she did not like, which was a rather common thing for him to do. She had had enough, and before he knew what happened, she placed a bucket on his head and proceeded to beat it vigorously with a spoon while he was trying to get out of the house. From then on, he avoided coming to my house. I was known for my drinking. Some said I was an epic drinker, but they did not understand that I was just expressing my German heritage and engaging into the tradition of drinking beer. Sometimes my wife Annie would send our youngest son, Irvin, to go find me and get me home. If I came home after raising too many glasses with the boys, my wife would not let me in the house. My work shed came in handy. My major form of transportation was my trusty bicycle, and I could be seen riding all over Gretna. Once my nephew, Carol Fortmeyer, who lived next door to us, he lost his dog. He was so distraught that I set out on my bike and eventually found his dog. He was so delighted when he saw me riding towards his house with his dog in the basket that you'd think I had saved his life. I lived at 5299 9th Street my entire life here in Gretna. I died at the age of 69 on June the 26th, 1953, and now I am here in the Hook and Ladder Cemetery. Well, folks, it's been delightful speaking to you tonight. I'm going to tell my wife that I'm going back to sleep. However, I just might slip out and go down the street for a beer. So for now, I'll say Guten Nacht and hope you enjoy the rest of your tour.